now. We're live.
We are live.
We are live. Shaa.
And I've got straight hair. I just feel like we need to just appreciate that I have straight hair because it so rarely happens. But yeah.
It looks lush. I love it. And we can disclose to the audience that you've just, while we're waiting to go live, booked a massage for this afternoon.
I have, yeah. I'm like, so I was saying to you earlier that we're running a 5-day business reboot this week, and I know some of your people are in it, and it's been awesome, but it's been full on, and that's great because I don't think I expected to be quite so full on. It is like, I don't know. It's a lot, right? There's a lot of comments. Like one night there was 1,000 comments, and I'm like, oh my God, 1,000 comments. How do I handle? And so I'm just like, I'm fit because I start doing a live at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then I wrap it up with a live at 8 p.m. in the evening. And so I'm bookending the day, which in theory sounds great. But if you're not resting during the day, it's a lot because actually what I'm doing is I'm just starting at 6 and finishing at 9:30. And that's a 15-hour day. And, you know, that's too much. Let's just book a massage. And I think, you know, that is the beauty of living in London, that you're able to just get out your phone and book someone to show up.
I downloaded the app so that you get them on, and they just all went, we do not service your area. Check back soon. We only got delivery about a year or so ago, so it's like, you know, one step at a time in Cheshire.
Yeah, good.
The thing about being able to go and have a massage get a massage in the middle of the afternoon is the beauty of running an online business, though, right?
100%. It's like you should be able to. I actually love working. Like I genuinely love working. Like I'm not one of those people. I'm currently like a massive Alex Hormozy fan. I was speaking to him about him earlier, and I was listening to an interview that he did, and he said that in 2021 he took the whole year out and he did nothing, no work, nothing whatsoever, because he wanted to be able to know what it felt like. And at the end of the year, he said he was totally and utterly depressed. He said that some people just aren't built to take permanent time off. And I think that's me, to be honest. I genuinely love working, but I want to work when I want to work. I want to work the hours I want to work. So if I'm doing this, I want to be able to say, do you know what? I'm going to book a massage at 2:30. Oh, I'm getting my nails done at 4. So I'm getting a massage at 2:30 and my nails done at 4. And then I'll be live back on at 8 o'clock tonight. So that is the beauty of having an online business, that you should have flexibility. That's what it's all about. 100%.
And you should be doing nice things for yourself, right? The one I sent out the voice note this morning in the bot to, can't remember how many people we've got in there, 50,000 people, whatever. And it basically said, this is your permission to get your offer out, to get rid of those clients that you hate, and do something nice for yourself today.
Well, truthfully, what is the point in doing something? What's the point in working so hard if you don't actually do stuff for yourself? I don't get it. I don't see the point. So for me, running your own business, especially an online business, in fact, any business should be about building a business that works for you. It should be about building a business that's giving you the lifestyle and the income that you desire and you deserve, right? And if you're not doing that, if you're just working all the time, then something's wrong.
Something's so wrong. And you literally do just burn out. You just frazzle away to nothing. We've all done it, but I think online for me it's such an amazing opportunity, but it's also frazzles you quite quickly if you're not careful, because you don't have the breaks. You don't have the go into the office, seeing people, getting to and from work. It's literally most people turn on the computer and they're at work, and then they work until they turn that computer off,
and they're full on all day. And that's really not what it should be about, right? What it should be about is it should be about working on a business in a way that creates more leverage, so that you have more flexibility, so that you have more time for yourself. 100%.
And let's talk about money. I went straight in with that as the title. I was like, let's talk about making money.
I love talking about making money, because I think that the only people who have the luxury of saying that money doesn't make you happy are people who have a lot of money. And I don't think money by itself makes you happy, but I think it makes all your problems an awful lot easier. So I don't think we should be so Pollyanna to believe that money doesn't make you happy, right? And for most people right now, we're in like doom and gloom. There's so much negativity around everywhere. And actually, I feel like I'm like the anti doom and gloom monger, because I think these are great times to be running a business. I think that anyone who's running a business, you should be so grateful that you have a business and that you're not constrained by a salary and somebody's telling you how much you can earn, that you have the ability to earn more money. So now it's up to you to make that happen, right? Like you have the ability for that to happen, but now you have to go out there and make it happen. But at least you have the choice, where so many people don't have the choice. They're being told what their salary is, and they hit a ceiling, they can't do anything about it. So for me, it's always about, I mean, I felt for a long time that, you know, post-pandemic and Brexit and then, you know, the changing of prime ministers and I mean, there's so many things. It just feels heavy. And now we're in a recession, and then there's rising inflation. I felt like this week I just wanted to do I don't even know if I'd call it a challenge. I think it's like a cross between a challenge and an experience, and just the opportunity for people to spend 5 days focused on their business, not in their business, and giving them an opportunity to have a complete and utter reboot of what they're doing. And it's about how do we close that gap, right? How do we close? I feel like my job as a mentor, because I'm definitely a mentor more than a coach, right? Because there's quite a big difference between the two. And my job, I always feel, is to help people close the gap. This is where people are and this is where they want to be. So how can I help them close the gap between those two places? And how can we do it in a way where we learn to actually have a life? Because nobody wants to be on social media 24/7. Nobody wants to, you know, be working 12-hour days. And equally, we've got to be realistic. We can't, I don't think many people can build the type of business they want in 4 hours a day either. So it's about how do you create that balance, but you've got to have strategy and then you've got to execute it.
Execute it. Oh, that's sad news. I was hoping you'd say we could all just think about it and
manifest
it, write it down, and then not have to execute it. So execution is your thing, really, isn't it? It's about getting people really clear and focused and then execute into a specific income goal. That's one of the things that you're going to be talking about in your workshop, yeah?
Yeah, so we're running a workshop on Sunday, and it's really about helping people go from now to next. It's about helping people close that gap, helping people figure out, right, this is where I'm at. Why are you stuck where you're at? What is it that's keeping you stuck where you're at? And what do you need to do to get to the next stage of where you want to be? And it is always about, you know, you can't have, yes, you've got to have yourself in a positive mindset. Of course you do. That's really important. But just a positive mental attitude without a plan isn't going to do anything. And a plan without execution won't do anything. So you have to have, you know, the kind of the three things. You need a combination of all of those to make any change. And where I see, let's talk about the three things that I see where people go wrong. I pick one, people give up too easy, right? Mm-hmm. Why is it that you and I have succeeded in an industry where an awful lot of people fail? With all due respect, Helen, I don't actually think it's because we are necessarily cleverer than anyone else. It's probably because we are more determined. We're more resilient. We just don't give up as easily as quickly. So I see people come on and they say, you know, they said, I've run 2 workshops and only 5 people showed up, so I don't think they work. I'm like, you've run 2 workshops. How do you make that decision on 2 workshops? What have you done to grow your audience, right? So the first thing I see people do is they give up too quickly. The second thing they do is that they make judgments. So they compare themselves with where they're at, with where you're at now or where I'm at now, as opposed to saying, well, hold up a second, this is where I'm at. Where are these people at, and what did they do to get there, right? So the first thing is you give up too easy. The second thing is you have unrealistic comparisonitis. Instead of comparing your start with somebody else's start, you compare your start with somebody else's like midterm point. Yeah. And then the third thing is that people just don't have practical goals. They have what I consider like an idea. They have this idea in their head about how much they want to earn. They have this idea in their head about what they want to do, but they don't have a practical plan on how they're going to get that idea, how they're going to turn that idea into reality.
It's truth, right? I was going to say, what do you think? I was literally, the next question was, what do you think stops people? And that's basically it. But the giving up too soon, too easy is such a big one that I see over and over again. Like you say, you've been in this game much longer than me, but I've been here for 5 years, which makes me like a dinosaur in online.
You know, we've only been in this industry 6 years. It'll be 7 years next year.
Exactly. Yeah. I compared myself to you, thinking you've been in it for 5 years, right? You've been in it for a year, but it's kind of it's so obvious when you see it, when people just they do one thing and then they go, that's not working, I'm going to do another thing, that's not working, I'm doing it, and it will chip away at your resilience.
So what they do is they flip and they flop from one, they keep trying. And I guess if I was going to add to that and another kind of indication, and it'd be interesting how many people who are watching this now or watching it later on have done the same thing, is that you put one offer out there and it doesn't land the way you want it to. So rather than perfecting that offer, you go and do another one. And then the same thing happens, and then you go and do another one. So you're constantly thinking that your offers don't work, whereas actually it might be that you've got the wrong audience. Or it might be that just you didn't have a big enough audience, that instead of just trying to, now we only run one program a year. And our goal is literally just to make that the best program on the planet. So every single time we launch, every iteration of that program just gets better and better and better, because that is all we do. We used to do exactly that. We used to go, right, we'll do one thing and then next month we'll do another. And literally every single month we'll be launching something new. But what that stopped us from doing was doubling down on becoming, we were really good, but we could never become excellent at something because we didn't give ourselves the time to just go all in on one thing or one program. And I'm not saying you have to just do one thing, but I am saying is that, you know, when people are, if you've hit a plateau or you're just starting out, I'd have some real simple advice for you. Number one, focus on one offer. It's like the power of one, right? Focus on one offer. So let's say it was Helen, right? LinkedIn training. Focus on one platform that you're going to sell that. And ironically, Helen could have chosen LinkedIn to sell LinkedIn training, or I probably would have said, use Facebook to sell LinkedIn training, because the people on Facebook are on Facebook because they don't know how to use LinkedIn, right? And then the third thing is focus on one way to sell it. So are you going to sell it through phone calls? Are you going to sell it through a workshop? So it's the power of one. You have one program, one platform, one sales method. And if you just keep doubling down on that, you're far more likely to get better results than you are constantly trying to change everything.
Yeah. And also then when you change one thing, you can test it rather than trying to change all of the things. And for me, I am so guilty of launching loads of things because that's our brains, right? And you're like, oh, I want to help these people, I want to do that. Well, all of my stuff's for the same people. But last year we did amalgamate everything into one place. So pretty much there's slight edges, but all roads now lead to the LinkedIn Mastermind, LinkedIn Business.
Yeah. I mean, we have one main program, and then our other programs are all on evergreen self-study. So we have one main program that I will teach, and then I think, like I was saying to you earlier, the only other thing that I'll do is things that are related to books, but that's out of my passion for books and for writing, not necessarily as a pure business decision. And I think when you do that, it just becomes a lot easier to focus and start to learn what's working and what's not working.
I think that lack of focus is so huge, and it's just not robustly testing things and treating things like a business, and instead thinking, like you see a lot of this, you know, I've had this download and I'm going to do this thing now, and I've been called to be this new person. It's like, have you actually had? So I've had what I would consider to be downloads, real pure inspiration, you know. But have you just decided that the thing you were doing wasn't working and you want to change something? Why don't people just say that? Like, I'm going to do this new thing. But anyway,
I don't know. I agree with you. I have inspiration moments, you know, when you've just got that moment of clarity and things fall into place. But I don't think I've ever had like a universal download that comes to me in the middle of the night and tells me this is what I have to do. You have to stop doing this. You have to stop. Like, I've made tons of changes in my business model, and I think this is really important for people to understand. There is absolutely nothing wrong with, if your business isn't working the way you want it to work right now, there is nothing wrong with changing that up and doing it in a way that works for you. Like in 2019, I stopped a coaching program that we were running, and that coaching program by itself made us 7 figures, just that one part of the business. We were doing about 3.5 million a year, and that was contributing about 1.2, something like that. And we shut it down, or I shut it down because I didn't want to do it anymore. And I know that to some people that feels like a real first world problem, but the lesson in that is, if something is no longer serving you, you just shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. And it's another thing that I see a lot of is things just aren't working for me, Helen. And then I'll ask them, do you really want to do this thing? Because sometimes you can do all the things, put all the offers out, show up relentlessly, do all of that stuff, do your challenges, do your live, all that kind of great stuff, which does work. But if you don't actually deep down emotionally, energetically,
I think people can tell that. That is where I would agree with the whole energy piece. I think people can tell that. And I think for those people who are in the 5-day reboot, they can tell the opposite, right? So they can tell that my energy is 100% in it, which is why they show up, because they feel that you are totally engaged with them. But if you don't really want to do something, really the answer is to stop doing it. I give myself a 90-day rule. If I don't want to do something, because I can be quite binary and just decide to cut something off, and I've learned with some maturity that that's not necessarily the best solution.
To burn everything to the ground because you feel
right.
like it.
Yeah, I have done that. You've done that. It's not necessarily the best idea. However, I give myself 90 days now. And if at the end of those 90 days, I still feel the same way, then I will burn it to the ground and stop doing it. Because sometimes you can just be going through a funk. Sometimes, you know, you can fall out of love with your business, but it's got nothing to do with the business. It's actually got to do with how you're running the business or how you're feeling or other things. But if you carry on feeling like that, you've got to just stop.
We had this exact conversation in the summer. What people watching this probably don't know about Shaa is that she always just rings me at the right or wrong time to anybody. She'll just be like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I can tell something's up or whatever. I can tell you're not quite right." Actually, Dan Meredith does it as well. But we had this whole conversation in the summer where I just was really burnt out in terms of like, I just moved house, got married, business, we're having cash flow problems and all that kind of stuff. And I remember you saying to me, so I remember you sat outside and you just said to me, "This isn't the time to burn it all to the ground. This is the time for you to just take a bit of time to think about what you want to do." And literally when we were chatting before on the phone, I was like, I feel great now. Like, I can't wait to go at it again. Let's do it all again. And, we were talking about rewriting a book. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's, love the...
You're in a different frame of mind, right? So you've got a different energy. And I think this is where people need to understand when they feel stuck with something, it's how do you transition from feeling overworked and overwhelmed to having that clarity of a plan. And, that's what I want to do on Sunday. We're going to have a real kind of live workshop Sunday at 8:00. And we're going to really, really focus on from now to next. And I've called it the Live Big, Work Smart workshop. And the reason I've called it that is because what I'm seeing too much of is people sacrificing their life for their business. And your business is supposed to be there to fuel the life that you want to have. You're not supposed to sacrifice your business. You're not supposed to sacrifice your life for your business, right? And so the best way that you can have that big life and have those experiences and travel and do all the things that you want to do is by working smart, because it is not just about making the money. The money is one part of the formula, but the way that you have a big fulfilled life is you make the money and you have the time to spend it. So for me, it's about how can I help people go from where they're at right now to where they want to go next? How can I help people close that gap and teach them how they can work smart so they can not just make the money that they desire and deserve, but so they can also actually have a life where they can go and spend it to create memories and experiences, because otherwise, really, what is the point?
And this is a different message, I think, than maybe you've given in the past, or I've given in the past, when it was very much like when I first came into this space, it was like, let's make the money and worry about the good times after, the money will bring the good times. And I think personally as well, having scaled a business, you've got to be careful what you wish for. Like, when you see what it's like when you're spending a lot of money and
you and I both know people who make 7 figures and take home less money than people who make 6 figures. Yeah. So the problem with the online industry is there's so much smoke and mirrors. And I feel like, I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. Like I've done, this is my 5th 7-figure business, and the other 4 weren't online. So like I am a bona fide entrepreneur. Like I know how to do this in the real world. And the reason I say that is because I think what a lot of people don't realize is we're looking at these vanity metrics, where the sanity metrics are how much are you taking home? Because I don't really care what you're turning over. If you're taking home less than someone turning over half what you're turning over, who's got their act together? Personally, I would say the person who's turning over half what you're turning over, but taking home more money is actually working way smarter. So I think it's, like you said, be careful what you wish for. As you grow a business, you have to be able to scale it in a way, if that's what you want to do even, right? Like I am still 100% and always will be about teaching people as a baseline. The start point has to be consistent 10K months. And the reason that has to be is because that's when you start to create financial freedom. And without financial freedom, you're never really going to be able to have the kind of life that people really want to have. And so if I can start, the first point is actually making 10K months. The second point is making those 10K months consistent. The third point is taking home 10K, and then we can take it from there. But for me, those are the 3 steps. And along that way, along that journey, you should be running a business that you actually want to love, that you want to do, a business that you love. Because if you do it that way, you're going to carry on doing it. Like anything else, if you don't have consistency, it won't carry on working. It'll grind to a halt because you don't want to do it anymore.
And I think understanding those numbers is so crucial. Like so many people fall into the online space without any business acumen, and that's fine. Like, and I'm there for it, and I think it's amazing. But there's a lot of people making a lot of money, including myself, who don't have I did have businesses in the real world as well, but not at that scale of money. So you got to make sure that everything's in the right place. But I ran my P&L for this year, and obviously this year is not over yet. But 3 years ago, this point I'd done like 800-900 grand, but my net was only 2, and there was a whole lot of stress, right? And then last year it went, I can't remember, I looked at last year's, but my net was 100 and my turnover was maybe 7, so maybe 6. This year it's under 5, but I've took home over 100. I've netted over 100 already. So it's kind of like, I think I just got better at business in the last 3 years.
You've understood it more. And these are the conversations that I wish more people would have, and really just to understand, if you want to close that gap from where you are to where you want to be, you have to understand your numbers. You have to understand how you're going to do it. You have to have a plan, and you have to execute on the plan. There's no point in just pushing your ship out and hoping that you're going in the right direction. You've got a plan for it. You've got to map it out.
Yeah, and the same with the marketing stuff, which is obviously more my wheelhouse, is that it's a numbers game. If you want to get X amount, when you've got that plan, it's like, how am I going to get those leads? How am I going to convert those leads? It's like, how are you going to grow that audience? So people, however you do it, you've got to get more people to see your stuff, so that more people take that next step. Really understanding
that is such a big part of it, because once you've figured out what your offer is, you've got to drive the people to it, but you've got to drive the right people to it, which is, that's a whole nother conversation. But we're going to be unpacking all of that on Sunday night as well.
Can't wait. It's going to be mega. I'll be watching. I'm sure we've posted the link everywhere so people can come and sign up for that Sunday night. No one's going to be on camera, are they? So everyone can come in their pajamas, can they?
Everyone can come in their pajamas. I'll be on camera, but everybody else can be on their pajamas. And I think everybody who's watching this, who's already in the 5-day reboot, will kind of know the energy that we're going to bring. And we've just made it super practical. I'm very stoic. I want to give people the kind of advice that they can leave on the Sunday night going, right, I know exactly what I need to do now, because otherwise it's just wishful thinking, right? And what we need to do is we need to get practical and do stuff and just stop listening to all the negativity that's going on around us and take back control the controllables. I'm always about what can we control and focus on controlling the controllables.
Perfect. End note. Thank you very much, darling.
Thanks, darling.
As always, and I'll see you Sunday. Bye.
Bye.